Today, I will argue that it is indeed not a full buyer's market. However, it is a much friendlier market for buyers and a more moderate market. Is it a buyer's market for condominiums in downtown and Toronto in general? Well, let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty, as always back with another video for you guys here today. As always, you can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my office, and my Instagram. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you may have about this video or any other video or any general inquiry you have about the Toronto/GTA real estate market. Lastly, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Your support in that regard is much appreciated. I put a lot of time into the data that I derive myself. Sometimes I use the data from other studies. Sometimes I conduct the research myself, often a mix of both. So your support in that regard would be much appreciated. So today's video is yet another edition of the Condo Weekly Market Update, where I go through the latest trends, the latest happenings of the condo market within Toronto and downtown. And today's main topic is it a buyer's market for condominiums? I put up a poll on my channel. If you're watching this, if you voted, thank you very much. Thus far, at least at the time of recording of this video, most people seem to have said no, it is not a buyer's market. So we're going to investigate this by going through some of the numbers and happenings. Today, I will argue that it is indeed not a full buyer's market. However, it is a much friendlier market for buyers and a more moderate market. Now, most of the arguments I will make in this video can be applied to both the freehold market and the condo market, anywhere really. Previously, I made a video about expired and terminated listings, and I will make a similar argument later on in this video, and that can also apply to freehold. Having said that, today's focus is the condo market, and I will argue in three parts through the numbers, through what's happening with conditions and clauses, and through the amount of inventory/listings available, that it is not a full-on buyer's market, but it is a much friendlier market for buyers, a more moderate market, so aka once again a friendlier market for buyers. And if you are indeed a potential purchaser of a condominium for both investment and end-using purposes, it is better to buy from now to September, ideally around July, August, than it is to buy in October, November, where I see condominium prices increasing to more of a seller's end. So let's start with the first part of my argument, the numbers. Starting with the most recent month we have in full, which is May. We're gonna go through June numbers as well, but we're gonna look at May in full. The average cost of a condominium in May of 2021 was $716,000. So this is across all areas of Toronto, but not the GTA. This is not York region. This is, once again, Toronto, the city of Toronto, $716,000. Now the preceding month, April 2021, this number was in the 720s, namely $727,000. And once again, when we look at the month previous to that, we'll see a higher number. Once again, if we take a look at York region instead of the city of Toronto, York region, Vaughan, Markham, and Richmond Hill, once again, we see the same kind of dip in prices, where in April, prices were higher at $667,000, and in May, they were around $656,000. So coming into June, we have seen, and as evident from these prices, and if I take a look at other areas, downtown only, midtown only, Etobicoke, you will see the same trend. Coming into June, we are establishing right now that the prices were softening. Now jumping off from what was preceding June numbers, which is once again, as I established, the April, May, prices dipping, let's take a look at June numbers. When we look at June 2021 with regards to the Toronto condo market, so just looking at the city of Toronto at large, we actually see that prices are somewhat up. Now, once again, just to be clear, this is not a complete month of June because it's at the time of recording of this video, and this video is being recorded June 24th. So we only have 24 days of prices to go to. So from June 1st to June 24th, The average is about $12,000 higher at $728,000. So this is comparing it to the preceding month of May. And so in this regard, prices have gone up, albeit $12,000. It's not that substantial of a growth. Even if it was on the negative side, $12,000, once again, it's not that substantial of a drop. It's still noticeable though. But what about looking at downtown numbers exclusively? So if we were just to isolate the downtown core, which is obviously the most populated and most saturated area for condos in the country of Canada, really, obviously Vancouver is also up there as well. So let's take a look at downtown Toronto. And by downtown Toronto, we're only looking at C1, we're excluding C8 for the purposes of this. And when we look at downtown Toronto, we actually see a substantial drop. We see that in June 2021, thus far in June 2021, with regards to the downtown Toronto condo market, we see an average selling price of $755,000, whereas in May, we were looking at $800,000. Once again, not the complete month of May, but 24 days into May, because we're looking at 24 days into June. So that's a $50,000 drop in prices for downtown condos. So taking a look at these numbers, this is the first portion of my argument that it is a more buyer-friendly market, although not a complete buyer's market. Why? Well, we have seen a trajectory of the prices slowly and steadily falling all the way from April, May to June. When we do a month-over-month analysis, it's not a full buyer's market, but every other way of looking at the numbers shows us really that it is a more buyer-friendly market, and in other words, in other ways put, it is a more moderate market. As a result, once again, according to the numbers, you're better off buying now in the summer than in the fall. But let's move on with the other two parts of this argument, as I aforementioned. Number two, the return of financing and inspection and status conditions. So on this channel, you must have seen me talk ad nauseum about, once again, the status condition, the financing condition, the inspection condition. Well, the financing and inspection with regards to even freehold properties, but the status is pretty much exclusive to condominiums. And just to give you a short summary, these conditions and clauses make an offer conditional. So meaning you guys, the two parties, the buyer and seller, agree on the price, the closing, and every other term, but the deal is still conditional upon the buyer doing their due diligence for 5 business days in terms of an inspection of the property and their financing. And the condition can be only waived at the buyer's sole discretion, meaning it is truly in the agreement of purchase and sale for the protection of the buyer, and whatever is in the protection of the buyer in terms of leverage and negotiating is against the best interests of the seller. In this sense, it's truly a zero-sum game. So in sellers markets, in very, very hot markets where properties are selling at bidding every other day, 5 properties, 5 units within the building within 1 week are selling at bidding above asking. There's mass competition. Buyers are really trying to, step over each other, submitting offers, 5 offers a week. Just a very, very hot, vibrant seller, in some instances, unhealthy markets. You do not see these financing, inspection, and status conditions, because these 3 conditions are a way where buyers can differentiate themselves in terms of removing these conditions and making their offers stronger in order to beat the massive competition that already exists in the hot seller market. Thus, if we are to agree that their absence is an indicator of a hot market, then their presence is actually an indicator of a more moderate and somewhat buyer-friendly market. So this is the second portion of my argument, because we are seeing the inspection, the financing, and the status conditions return onto the market. I'm speaking from experience as well, both on the selling side of things and the buying side of things. When I've purchased condos in the last couple of weeks for a client, we've gone in for it with an inspection and financing and status. On the selling side of things, we have accepted offers with those conditions. Now, obviously, it's always a case-by-case basis. You will have circumstances in a very hot market where you actually get a deal done with the conditions in for the buyer. You have cases in a very cold market where you get a firm offer. I've been on both ends of that as well. Point here is, that on average, conditions or lack thereof are very good indicators of a cold market or a hot market. And we are seeing right now, not necessarily a cold market, but this presence of these financing inspections and status conditions as evidence for a moderate buyer-friendly market. Lastly, to continue with the last portion of this video and my argument as to why it is a more moderate buyer-friendly market, although not a complete buyer's market, we are seeing many properties get listed for sale for either at bidding or with higher expectations than normal, so expectations of May, April, and those properties are getting terminated and relisted, or they expired or get suspended. This typically happens far less in a more hot seller-friendly market, happens much more in a more moderate, more buyer-friendly market, as is the case now. And as I said previously in the beginning of this video, this can also apply to freehold properties, and it's actually happening with freehold properties. I'm in an entire separate video going through the fact that properties at bidding wars are not selling in the same area within the same 3 to 5 kilometer radius. They're getting relisted, and it's happening, at a high rate actually, where properties are being listed for multiple offers. So at a bidding price, they're not getting offers or offers they like, then getting relisted. That is a trend that's happening with freehold properties. It's also a trend that's happening with condominium properties. And as a result, another indicator of a cooling market and a more buyer-friendly market right now in this moment. Anyways, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate at RE/MAX Realtron Realty. Thank you very much for watching my video. Feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. You can find my contact information in the description box. As always, feel free to get in touch with any questions you may have, and stay safe. Thank you very much.